Let's get to the headline topic. Dash, what the hell are we talking about, buddy?
All right, let me pull this up here. Okay, so yeah, Metroid Prime 4 review discussion. And I'm sure you've all seen the review scores. And of course, our next episode, we're going to do impressions. But today,
no
let's
review
talk
period.
about.
Yep, next week.
We'll talk about the Metacritic score, where it's at right now. It's at 81. Of course, there seems to be a lot of complaints out there. And, you know, I don't know how many reviews you guys have read, how much you've looked into any of this.
Well, I'm about 25 reviews I've read.
25
Dang.
reviews.
Yeah. Wanted to
That's
get
a
a
lot,
good
man.
picture of the negative and the positive and what people were saying.
I've only looked at maybe like, I want to say like four, maybe five, 4 or 5 reviews I've looked at.
I just like to get a good
Or listen to. Maybe that's a better way to phrase it.
Sometimes listening.
Listen
Yep. Some of them I listen to. Yeah.
Yeah, I read one out of curiosity, and that was it. And it was because of the score. And I knew before the review was even published that it was going to be at the bottom of the scale. And that is why I wanted to read it, because, you know, like I privately predict it with myself that this outlet is going to give it a bad score based on their complaining in the preview session. And so, of course, I was like, you know, I want to see if they're really going to stick with this, if they still want to be, you know, irritated about the things that they talked about. That, you know, to me, for me, is obviously not a big deal. But I was interested in that, and it got me to actually do some digging too on their actual website and how they review games, like how they actually determine review scores and how they go about it. And then it got me to digging on some other websites as well. And so, like, I wasn't reading so much Metroid Prime 4 reviews outside of the one that I read, because that one that I read got me to start going to a bunch of other websites to look at their review system and read it. And I gotta say, I walked away thinking that this is a complete pile of horseshit when I read their actual like review scale and like how they review games on all these websites. I was appalled. It was nothing but a giant word salad. I'm like, what is this crap? It's very interesting. It was very interesting. It got me thinking about a lot of things with reviews, you know, but we'll unpack that in this topic. So, Landon, I'll let you kick it off since you're our guest. Have you read any reviews yet? And if not, just how do you what are your thoughts on the Metacritic score?
Yeah, I read a lot. I read about 7 to 10 of them. So I've been like the last couple of years, what I do is I have this new thing on my channel where I will kind of combine a lot of the reviews, a lot of the good, a lot of the bad. So that way, not necessarily for the score, but for people to see what a lot of people are really loving and also what a lot of people really disliking about a game. And this one was weird for me as well. Just like you were saying, I know a lot of these reviewers say they don't do things based off of like, I don't like this, let's take a couple points off, but it feels like they do. Like I will read a lot of these reviews and it feels like there's not a lot that I'm seeing that's making me think this is an 80. If anything, I'm like, most of the things that they were talking about, I'm like, this sounds like a 90 plus game, but I'm like, it's almost like, oh, we're going to, drop it off a whole point just because of there's some chatty dialogue. Oh, we're gonna drop it off a whole point because there's a it's just weird things. And
Well, what's interesting too, Landon? I'm glad you mentioned that. Is that when they have these things that they don't like, we have no idea how that works on their review scale.
Right.
Like this complaint that they had, what does this translate to?
Yep.
What's the numerical value? How is this going to affect it? Because what you just said to me is not a big deal. If I'm reading it and there's something they're complaining about, and I think to myself, that's not a big deal to me. That's not going to bother me. Like, so I'm sitting here thinking like, well, how much is that going to tip the scale? But we have no idea because they don't tell you. And because it's not clearly defined, and you don't even know what makes up their review scores. And this is what I found out in all my research, that no one does it like they used to back in the day. This isn't like GamePro magazine where they're talking about like the graphics, the gameplay, the sound design, the controls, and the fun factor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the things that I think we all care about. All right, so continue, please.
Yeah, and of course, like we haven't played it yet, and I'm just sitting here. It's hard for me to judge if some of the things they're saying are true yet. I got to get really deep into the game. Is the open world really, barren as some people say it is? And yeah, but that's what it came down to when I looked at all the reviews. It was mostly two things. It was this open world was kind of empty, and some people were bored, some people loved it. But then same thing with the side characters, which we all knew was going to be a big issue from the previews. Some people think they're too chatty. Some people said it's not an issue. But even looking some of those things still makes me say, like, why is it that we are at this point where having a couple of characters that are, a little chatty or some side characters to support the main role? How is that something that some of the reviews were genuinely like, this ruined my experience. Which doesn't make sense because I'm reading other reviews that are saying over half of the game, you're alone, you're isolated over more than half the game. So I'm like, that's just such a weird thing to make you so like against the game just because there's some characters that talk and stuff. And
Yeah,
I'm one of the weird people that loved Other M. It had its issues for sure, but I love the world building with the extra characters. Like I love having more characters in the story and just tying the plot with other people that you care about and other people that you have to protect with Samus. And so when I saw these extra characters with all these Federation troopers, I thought it was awesome. And I was like, sweet, like you were getting some more names again. And from everything that I've seen, I'm not even bothered by Miles. I mean, I know a lot of people can't stand him and stuff. I'm like, you know what, bring him in. I don't care. And from everything I've heard, he's only in a super small portion of the game. So it's just like, yeah, I don't understand how something like that, maybe the open world does have some issues. I have to play around with it. But I mean, just when it comes to that dialogue thing, that's one thing that really just bugs me. And, we can get into that as a whole discussion because especially with people that call themselves Metroid fans and then they, get online just to say Metroid's ruined. It has characters. Like, what are we talking about?
yeah, it's been the oddest discourse. I don't know. I feel like I've seen. Yeah, there's been some odd stuff, right, in recent years with games, and there's been different reasons though. Like some of the discourse has been, or a lot of discourse I've seen has been like politically driven, which I'm like, don't want to hear anything about that shit.
Nope.
This is about character in the game.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what? It's just interesting. Like, how do you get through a day? How do you get through your day? If a character in a video game and the small amount of screen time that they have is going to tip your mental scales to literally like you flip your mental switch and suddenly you've just lost it, because a lot of the takes I've seen are people just absolutely mentally losing it. Like what happens like when you get in the car and drive and someone like accidentally maybe cuts you off or does it on purpose, or you're at the grocery store, basically anywhere where there's humans. How do you get through the day if this is going to do that to you? Like, I'm trying to think big picture stuff here. Like,
Well, from what I'm
Ha-
getting, I'm seeing it like I think a lot of these people are trying so hard. Like same thing with the actual score of it being an 81. I think so many people are comparing it to that first trilogy, and
yeah,
they're like almost wanting this game to not deep. Like they want the series to grow, but they want it to just stay in that. Like they want it to be the true successor to Prime 3, which a lot of reviewers said it was. So
they did.
it feels like these two things that they're nitpicking are the two things that's not in the first three games, really, outside maybe Prime 3 with a little bit of chat. But I'm like, that's what I'm getting from this. It's not exactly what we wanted from the first three games. It's the nostalgia taking over. Nintendo's trying to add some new, fresh ideas to the series, and they're not liking it. So
Okay. All right. I'll have some more things to say, but I want to hear from everyone else. Gamebird, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. This game seems, from what I've seen, this game seems pretty divisive. And make no mistake, I think we were all expecting, I don't want to speak for you guys, but I feel like we were all expecting this game to score higher on things like Metacritic and OpenCritic. I was expecting this to land above the 90s. So seeing it fall below that is a bummer. That being said, I said it earlier in the show tonight. Anything in the 8 is a great game. That's not mediocre. It's not average. It's not decent. It's not good. It's great. It's next to excellent, and it's close. It's only two grades away from masterpiece. So it's obviously it's going to take me getting my hands on the game and seeing where this lands for me as far as ranking or how I personally would score the game. But that being said, everything I've seen about this game, I'm very excited about. I'm super hyped for. I think it was the show that Stash, you were gone. You were at a wedding. We had just gotten the Metroid Prime 4 direct where it showed off the trailer that showed off the Viola, the motorcycle, for the first time. And I was the one person in the podcast that night who expressed concerns about that. The bike was my biggest worry about this game. And there's a reason for that. The reason is a lot of times when you play a game that introduces some sort of a mount or a vehicle where that's not a central core mechanic to the way the game was designed, oftentimes it leads to complaints in the reviews saying like the vehicle parts were terrible or the vehicle didn't control well. I know for me, games like Borderlands, like I hate driving the vehicle. I find it a pain in the ass. I mean, this is a mechanic that hurt reviews for Arkham Knight. Too much Batmobile, it didn't control well. That was my concern. I've heard people complain about the desert being barren, but I've only seen praise to the way the motorcycle controls. I can't speak for all. I've only looked at like 4 or 5 reviews, but I've seen, the bike controls great. So that was my big concern. As far as the characters, Miles didn't faze me. It looked like, they have a character like Otacon from Metal Gear Solid, and no Uprising when Otacon was in Metal Gear Solid. Very strange. And that's it's a stealth game about isolation and being on a stealth mission by yourself. Metal Gear Solid 4 had Johnny, who was like complete comedic relief. So it was definitely interesting to me, but yeah, Landon kind of touched on this, but listen, I love Metroid Prime 1. I love Metroid Prime 2. I love Prime 3. I think they're amazing games. The series needs to evolve. Are all the evolutions in Prime 4 going to be a winner for me? I don't know. I haven't played it yet, but I'm not concerned. And think about The Legend of Zelda. Like, we got Breath of the Wild. This is a game that basically took everything that you know and love about Zelda and turned it upside down on itself. You love dungeons, traditional dungeons and temples? Gone. You love traditional bosses and mini bosses? Gone. You love classic items like the hook shot, the iron boots, the megaton hammer? Gone. You like a focused and linear storyline? Gone. Are we reviewing this game based on what we want it to be, or are we reviewing it on the merits of what it is? Because
Yeah, I think it's on what you said first. From what I've gathered, is that it's on what people wanted it to be
And
inside in their mind.
right. Yeah.
Not-
And the thing is, like, you know, I want to reiterate, I did think this game was going to score higher. Maybe this game does feel like I haven't played it yet. Maybe this does feel I haven't played the demo. I didn't get to play it. It wasn't at PAX. I didn't get to go to the Switch event and play the demo like you did, Stash. I haven't experienced this game at any caliber. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. I will say this, regardless of where this ranks for me, regardless of whether I think this is an 80, a 90, or a 100, what I can say is the things I've heard about it has made me, and the things I've seen on it have made me more and more hyped as we get closer to launch. I forget his name, the reviewer from IGN who gave this game an 8
Logan
and loved it. Logan, thank you. Crowd favorite Logan. He gave it an 8. He said he loved the game. Said it has massive highs, but it also has some big lows. That's fair. That's Logan's opinion. You know, I feel like he gave an honest review of his experience. I don't feel like he reviewed the game unfairly. However, after his review was posted, he tweeted something that shot my hype up. I'm sure some of you might know what I'm talking about. He tweeted that if you're a fan of traditional style Zelda games,
Yeah.
here I am, baby. And you love those traditional dungeons.
Yeah.
And you miss that sort of gameplay that we lost with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, that Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is the game for you. And it's the closest thing that we've gotten to traditional Zelda outside of traditional Zelda before Prime 4. Listen, that may be a deviation from what we know of Prime 1, 2, and 3. But that sounds like a deviation that I, as a Zelda fan, could totally get on board for. And guys, Zelda's not the only series that turned things upside down. I mean, look at Donkey Kong Bonanza. Look at on another platform, God of War. Who went into God of War feeling like this game would be a lot better if Kratos had a son who was a companion who yaps the whole game and says, "Look over there, Dad." Like, it's
Right.
weird that there's just, I don't know if it's
Which that game one had. I didn't even
Right.
know that was a thing. Like, I didn't know people
Yeah.
were complaining about it until actually this Metroid stuff came up, because people compared it to that. I'm like, what was wrong with that? I
Yeah.
had no idea there was a thing about that where people were upset that father and son are talking.
Yeah.
What kind of world do we live in, dude? This
Yeah.
is wild.
Yeah. It's crazy. So yeah, I'm not sure if some of it is just sensationalism, you know. Obviously it is it's like the cool thing to do right now. You know, Nintendo's dominating the video game space. They're just nonstop kicking ass at every turn. They're an unstoppable force. So when a company's doing so well, you know, regardless of whether or not you agree with their decisions, the fact of the matter is they're at the height of their popularity. The Switch 2 is just like crushed, or sorry, the Switch 1 crushed in sales. The Switch 2 is off to being the fastest selling system of all time. We'll see if that momentum continues. It could just, you know, it could peak and then just drop. We don't know yet. I think that's going to come down to the momentum and the library that they continue to pump out. But I'm excited to get my hands on this. Listen, that like there might be changes I don't like. There might be changes that I love. I really won't know until I get my hands on it. Where it lands for me, who knows? Maybe I'll hate the game. I have no idea. But the point is that like I'm not going in with expectations of what I think Prime 4 should be. The fact of the matter is, here's the hard truth: is this is a dying series. This is a series that can't sell. I'm not talking about Metroid as a franchise. I'm talking about Prime. Does not sell. It is dying. Nintendo, Retro, they needed to shake things up. They needed to evolve somehow. Yeah, maybe not. This isn't the perfect evolution of the series. Do I like the isolated experience? Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's what makes Metroid unique. in a world of games with all the story elements and side quests and side characters and subplots. It's a unique experience. But the fact of the matter is that no one's buying it. There's enough people buying Metroid Prime to fill a stadium, and that's it. You know, finding a Metroid Prime fan out in the wild is like finding a needle in a haystack. We're a dying breed. We're like the people arguing for Laserdisc to come back. So
No, I know.
this might not be the exact evolution you want for the series, but the hope is that this game is played by more new people than Metroid fans, because we need this series to grow. We need this
Long way
series.
to grow.
My dream is that this is most people who purchase first Metroid game ever, because that means interest is finally there. I hope it does well. I don't think scores are going to affect sales because, you know, that's not really how it works. You know, I mean, Fortnite would be a 10 out of 10 masterpiece gaming perfection if it came down to that. So we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see
'cause
how
we
it
gotta
does.
look outside of our bubble that we're in with the video game space. Like, if you're trying to attract new people to play a Metroid, are they going on and looking at Metacritic first? Are the casuals looking at that? If that's who you're trying to attract, which again, I believe that is part of their game plan, because it's the only way you're going to grow it. There's not new Metroid fans being born. Like, we are the age we are. We grew up with it. We love it. The only way you're going to get new ones is if you start changing some things up.
Yeah.
Like you said, like with Ocarina of Time, the one review I read, the headline was Metroid Prime for Ocarina of Prime.
That sounds epic.
As if this was such a
diss.
shitty thing that this is like Ocarina of Time with the you know, they're comparing Hyrule Field to the desert, and just like how disappointed. It's like, what? And I just kept reading more. I'm like, these are all great things.
Right. Well, here's the other thing too, is that, like, listen, we've got this, and I've made a video about like Nintendo's kind of 2-pillar system with its games. You know, the 2D Marios, that's classic, tried and true A to B platformer, rescue the princess, and then you've got the 3D ones that are super innovative and adventurous. Guys, we still have classic Metroid. That's going to be isolation. That's going to give you, and dude, Metroid Dread is like one of the best, like top 5 Switch games easily. The game is a masterpiece. We're going to be getting more 2D Metroids. Maybe Prime is a good one for them too. Prime started as an experiment. The game started as a Metroid game that Metroid fans didn't want.
No
Metroid fan wanted a first-person shooter.
It's like they didn't want Wind Waker. They didn't want Wind Waker. They didn't want that. And it was the same time period.
Maybe not everything lands with this one. Maybe there's some growing pains, but innovation's good. I hope I love this game. I like a lot of the things I'm hearing. You know, I do. You know, if there's one thing I've seen that I can just, from the trailers and from the reviews, I could say, oh, I wish that was better. Maybe the desert. You know, hearing that there's no music in the desert, that's a bummer. You know, I was just ragging on Breath of the Wild last week with not really ragging on it, but giving a tough critique on it as a Zelda fan. And music was one of the areas that, you know, that game loses me a little bit. So hearing that there's no music in the desert, that's a little bit of a bummer. I would have loved to get some like kind of like Dune style sci-fi desert theme while you're cruising through. And the fact that it's a little bit barren is a little bit of a bummer. But outside of that,
sounds like the real desert.
Yeah.
I live in
outside of that.
I was gonna say it has music. I heard it today. It's just very.
Okay.
It's think of it more like Breath of the Wild style, where it's like very subtle, but it's there. If people were hoping for like a grand, you know, Hyrule Field theme, right? Like we have from old Zeldas. No, it's not that. It's very subtle. I don't know. Just based on what I saw today and heard, I was like, well, this kind of fits a desert. So I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. It's not like I was expecting Gerudo Valley to start popping off.
There is a radio station. You got to scan the amiibo for it. I heard. So
yeah, you scan the Viola amiibo, and you can change the music in the desert.
Oh yeah. You could pick anything you want if you have Viola.
But there is music on it, so I heard it incorrectly. Mm-hmm. I've seen people posting on Twitter and misinformation, folks. They clowned me. Damn it! I never get clowned on my own show.
There's misinformation about this game. Dude.
But
there's a person today who kept sharing this post with me from 4chan and kept trying to tell me that Miles McKenzie does not shut up and talks the entire fucking game. And I'm like, dude, have you read any review? They literally say when you go to the main section, your comms are cut off. You can't talk to them even if you want to. Like, what are we doing?
And isn't that exactly what we said on the podcast right after the previews?
Exactly what we said.
I think we all did on Twitter. That I guarantee you, this dude, Miles McKenzie, that everyone is complaining about, is going to go away right after this. Like, have you ever played a video game from beginning to end? Because I start to doubt that some of these people have.
Yeah,
that's why you feel like a lot of it's got to be
sensationalism.
Yeah, and he will talk to you throughout the game. Yes, when you're in Soul Valley driving around, basically, I listened to the Giant Bomb Q&A. And the guy who reviewed the game was like, yeah, he talks, but like, it's only after you spend like 45 minutes or an hour where you're farting around doing whatever the hell you feel like. And then he'll be like, hey, just so you know, you're supposed to be going to do this thing. It's like a reminder of what the next task is in the mainline story.
Sounds like Navi from Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, it's really not that big of a deal. He said like, it's like, yeah, some people need that too. Like sometimes you play for long sessions or you leave and don't play for like a week and you come back and you don't remember what to do. It's nice to have a little nudge in the direction. He's not giving you answers. He's just telling you, this is where he wants to go. He even noted, and I read this in some other reviews, everyone seems to have played the game through the same way in a sort of a linear pattern. But apparently the game does also suggest very early on that you can pretty much do anything you want. But the one guy that I was listening to on the podcast, he said that the problem was he tried going to another area and he couldn't get in, but he only tried one spot. Maybe he could have gone to a different area and got in and did it out of order. But, the game apparently tells you can do that. But everyone seemed to play it the way that, just like Breath of the Wild, like it nudges you to go a certain path. And it seems like that's what most of the reviewers did, which, to be fair, isn't too surprising. I mean, they probably had like 3 or 4 days with this game and they slammed it. So.
Yeah. And I just want to say a few more things. I know I'm yapping on this, but I'm excited and like, listen, it's okay for some things to be different than your expectations. I'm going to make the Zelda comparison. For me, as much as I love Breath of the Wild, like I still revere that game as a 10 out of 10. I think it's one of the most important games of the last generation. But did I want a Zelda game without some of the staples that weren't broken, that staples that made me a Zelda fan to start? No. I never wanted a Zelda game without traditional dungeons. It's one of my favorite parts of every Zelda game. Like when I think of favorite, like when I start thinking about breaking down my list of favorite Zelda games, I think about the quality of it's one of the first things I think about. Oh, what are my favorite dungeons? Which game had the most dungeons that wowed me? So yeah, I never wanted a Zelda game where my weapons break every 5 seconds, especially Breath of the Wild. When you have 2 weapons break fighting one enemy, I never wanted that. Game's still a 10 out of 10 for me. The game's remarkable, but again, it's about reviewing the game for what it is instead of your expectations, because as much of a masterpiece that I believe Breath of the Wild is, if I reviewed that game based on my expectations of what it means to be a Zelda game, that game would have reviewed much lower, because I would have been like, main villain, garbage. It's a storm. The main village is like, it's like finding out that the bad guy was a tornado the whole time. They don't even talk to you. They don't antagonize you throughout. They don't foil your plans. you know, set you back in your adventure halfway through. You know, I would have iconic tunes gone, dungeons gone, bosses gone. Master Sword goes on a cooldown this game. This sucks. So, yeah, nothing wrong with wanting isolation. You're not wrong for loving that about Metroid, because that's a great part of the Prime series. Nothing wrong with that. But let's give this one give this one a chance, you know. And guys, for the love of God, my last piece. Stop calling this like a dumpster fire and like a complete failure. It's in the 80s. That's great. That's a fantastic game. I literally, and this isn't me coping. This isn't me. I've never played the game. Like I said, I could hate the game. I won't know till I doubt it, but I won't know till I play it. But I said like maybe a month ago, maybe 2 months ago on the podcast, like, what's like this whole thing with people being so like a 7 is a complete trash. You know how many 7s I love? You know how many things that have averaged in the 70s on Meta or OpenCritic that for me are like personal 85s or 88s or 90s? Tons.
Yeah, that's
Age
again,
of Imprisonment is that for me.
that's why it always goes back to review scores and the importance people place on it, and how ultimately I think it does a lot of damage. But I'll get into that after. I want to hear from you guys, because I have some.
Sorry I yapped so
some
much,
big
everyone. I
picture
just
thoughts after you guys.
It's a
it was
podcast.
good.
You don't yap. And what's going on?
fair enough. In that
right.
case, I've got more to say. Just
Right.
kidding.
That's fine.
Eric, your thoughts?
Yeah. I honestly don't look at Metacritic. I haven't really until we bring it up on the podcast every once in a while. I was like, oh, all right, cool. I trust more in the three of you across the top here's opinions more than I care about game reviews. So if you guys tell me I think I'm gonna like it, I probably will. If it's one of those things that I think you guys kind of know my game tastes quite a bit now, since we've known each other. So I mean, I'm gonna trust you guys. If you guys are gonna say it's a great game, I'll believe you. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna pick it up. No, but it'd be one of those that I'd be definitely more willing to try if you guys gave it your seal of approval than
Next
looking
week's
at
impressions.
any sort of review. So that's just
makes
kind of where
sense.
I'm at with that type of stuff. I do I look like at product reviews when I'm buying stuff? Absolutely. But that doesn't necessarily, I just glance. I don't really,
I look at it like this, Eric, because review scores have never determined if I'm buying something.
Yeah.
When it comes to entertainment, I could tell from trailers if I'm interested or not.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of
I don't really need
where
a
I'm at too.
review.
Yeah. Right.
To tell me.
No, for sure. But and then that's kind of the way I am too, is you guys and then the trailers. And but it's one of those that I like to see kind of the best and the worst of reviews and stuff, and just kind of go, okay, what makes more sense? Is it just a couple people bitching, or they get a lemon of a product or something like that, and did the company do anything to fix it? That's just me looking at stuff online to buy. But when it comes to gaming, I trust my friends more than just any random person on the internet. So
Yep.
Yeah,
I like that point a lot.
it's true. Does anyone here ever listen to Kind of Funny Games?
Yep.
So I listen to them sometimes, especially when there's a big Nintendo game that comes out, because I really like Tim Geddes on that show. He's a big Nintendo guy on the crew, but what I like about him is, listen, it's one of the things I love about being on this podcast with you guys, because it's hanging out with friends and sharing our love and excitement for video games. This is a Nintendo show, but I Landon, I assume you like games outside of Nintendo too. I know everyone on the podcast just loves games in general. He's the type of character that you see genuine excitement about a lot of the classic Nintendo stuff. And that's what makes me enjoy listening to his takes. And he gave his personal score for Metroid Prime 4 a 9 out of 10. He did mention that there were some low moments in the game for him, things that he would have wished were done differently or not been a part of the game at all. But he said that the highs are insane in this game. He mentioned that the locations, when I think of like the best locations in the series, he's like, I pick all the locations in this game because they're unbelievable. And he mentioned what he called like an equivalent to like dungeons. Again, people are making these Zelda references. He's saying they're like masterpieces or 10 out of 10. All the dungeons. I don't know what they mean by dungeons, but all the dungeons in this game, according to Tim, are masterpieces. And so that's exciting. And you know, this is someone, you know, this is someone who's genuinely excited and passionate about the series. So that's the stuff you like to hear. We'll see. I hope this is a 9 out of. I hope this is a 9 or a 10 for all of us here tonight. Maybe it won't be, but regardless, even if it's 8 out of 10, I mean, I don't know. I hope people enjoy this game. I hope it sells well. I hope we get to see another Metroid Prime ultimately. You know, maybe there's a little bit less divisiveness if they get another stab at it.
Yeah.
They see some of the feedback. They make some tweaks here and there. Then maybe the next one's a 93, 94. That's all.
Right, Prime, what are your thoughts?
For starters, obviously, you know, it being an 81, the big thing that was a shocker, I think, to Nintendo fans is like the pedigree of the series is every mainline Metroid Prime's a 90 or above. All of them. The lowest one was corruption. Some of the criticisms on that were the dialogue and the interactions with the NPCs, but you know, it was still Metroid Prime through and through. Still was a 90 plus. Funny thing is, it's like the same complaints this time. The dialogue, the NPCs, but it's still Metroid Prime through and through, and it's somehow 9 points worse. It's kind of interesting because almost every single review says some of the highest moments in Metroid happen in this game, which is insane. So some of the absolute best moments in the series history happens in this game, but some people gave it a 6. I'm confused. It doesn't seem to line up. The lows are that bad. The lows are so bad that it's like unplayable for you or something. It's interesting because a lot of the controversies around the NPCs, and this is not the first time we've had like everyone keeps going other Dude, Metroid Prime 3 had voice acting and NPCs just like this. Yeah. Like it was in this part of Metroid Prime.
That's because a lot of those people have never played a Metroid game and just know that other M from seeing people's tweets and posts.
Yeah, that's like the dark.
So they're making the comparison, but a lot of people who are complaining about it have never played Prime 3.
It's more than I remembered too. Like when I went back and replayed it, I was like, Prime 3 has a lot of characters.
Yeah, it is very chatty and yappy.
Yeah. And like there's like a scene that Andy Robinson shared. Forgot the name of the character, but one of the Space Marines, one of the females, is like going like all fangirl when Samus walks in the room, right? There's a scene exactly like that in Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, and it's like 18 times more cringe in Metroid Prime 3. The voice acting is actually good this time. The animation's actually good. And if you think about the Federation, they know a lot about Samus at this point. Samus has basically been the galactic badass for a while. So there is a high chance that someone meeting Samus would act like a fan, because that's what the character acts like as a fan. Even supposedly at one point asked for an autograph. Makes sense. This is Samus, and she's a badass female kicking space pirate booty all over the galaxy, saving the Galactic Federation's ass on more than one occasion, dealing with the Metroid infection, among others. And she's a badass. Yeah, of course she's a celebrity in her own universe. This isn't like Zelda and Link where it's like a new Zelda, a new Link every generation. No, it's been one Samus this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
She has accolades out the fucking ass. So yeah, there's going to be some people that are going to fangirl over a badass female, just like they would in real life.
I don't know if you saw my tweet. I said the same thing.
I've done this in real life.
I got killed for it.
Dude, I've done this in real life, and like I don't celebrities and all that, they're just people, right? But man, goddamn, if like I haven't been to, say it's Memorial Day and you see some soldiers who fought for your freedom, we're in war. You feel something. In that case, I'm not going to run up fanboying, but there's a level of respect, a level of thankfulness I want to show them. And in this case, she's literally the celebrity of her universe. And here she is, yet again, saving their asses. Without being asked to. She's just doing it because it's the right thing to do. She could tell them to fuck off, and she doesn't do that because it's not what Samus does. She actually does care as much as she's stoic and has no person. No, she does care. She's shown she's cared throughout series history. It's just she's not going to talk a lot. And again, she barely talks. I don't think I haven't heard a single voice line from her in any of the reviews. If there is, maybe it's at the end of the game. There is a voice actor for her, so there could be some lines at the end. Obviously, the end is not spoiled for me, so I have no idea if she does say anything at the end, which I could imagine in the final scene. Maybe she takes off the helmet. Maybe she says something. And that's fine. If they wait till the end of the game for her to say something, that's totally fine. I know there was a knock that, sometimes she should say stuff when, the NPCs are going, saying things and then she doesn't respond. It makes it feel awkward. I'm like, well, every scene I keep being shown of the NPCs talking where you tell me it's awkward, she's not responding. I'm like, dude, what the fuck do you think she's going to say? She's doing this whole, if I have nothing nice to say fucking nothing at all. Because like some of the things being said to her, it's like, dude, shut the fuck up. I just kicked this boss's ass. Can I get a moment to fucking breathe over here? Like I'm just like, what is happening? Like, this is what Sam is. She doesn't talk a lot. She's not mute. She's not like Link. She does talk. Technically Link talks as well. That's a different conversation. But point is, like, she talks in the games several times. But in this game, maybe she does until the end. Point is, these reviews, I haven't played the game besides I did touch the demo at Best Buy on Black Friday. So I was like, right there. I was like, all right, cool. I'll play this for a little bit. I didn't even finish it because I already know everything that happens in this demo. It's not a new demo. Just wanted to get a feel for the gameplay. At that moment, I wish I had my Joy-Con 2s with me because I would have tried to sync them up and try mouse mode, but because you couldn't detach them. But that's all right. So yeah, played fantastic. Played exactly like I expected Metroid Prime to play. But again, I have to play the game day one tomorrow. But my primary problem with the reviews, some of them, not all of them, but there was like 3, because I've read like 25-ish reviews. 3 of them were heavily projecting what they want the game to be instead of telling me what the game is. And I got to the end of the review and I knew nothing more about the game than I knew before I started the review. But I sure as fuck knew a hell of a lot about what the author wants a Metroid game to be. And that's cool. Reviews are opinions. That's fine. I'm not into that kind of review. And that kind of review, leads to people doing scores. And like the problem, I don't have an issue with review scores on the whole. I think it's all about the outlet. And the problem is every outlet does it different, right? So some outlets view it like a grading scale. C is is solid, playable, enjoyable experience, but not fantastic. B is really, really good. So anything in the 80s, really, really fucking good. You get to the 90s, you're talking about this is like a must play. I'm going to suggest this to most people. Okay. That's generally how some people do it. Then they go, if I'm in the 60s, it's playable. Someone might enjoy it if you're really into this particular thing, but probably a passer. And then anything below that, just don't even buy it. Right. It's F tier at that point. All right. I'm fine. I actually like that grading scale. I think it's easily understandable. A lot of us grow up with the typical grade scale. I think it makes sense, but not everyone does it that way. We all know the typical, if it's not a 9 or above, the game's shit. And that's not, even though gamers are the ones that set it that way, it's actually the websites that sometimes do that too. Where they'll say a game is absolute trash and give it a 7.8. And you're like,
you know what review scale I love? Anyone ever watch ACG?
Mm-hmm.
ACG reviews?
Yeah,
he does it's like a must buy, wait for sale, or pass, or skip, or whatever he says. I love that.
Yeah, sure.
I love that.
Yeah, there's some outlets that do
wait for
that.
sale,
Not every
close
outlet
the
even does scores. I don't have a problem with the scores. The problem is aggregating scores together from completely different scoring systems. It leads to not necessarily what I'm going to say is incorrect. Like I know Metacritic does weighted on their reviews. OpenCritic does not. I think on OpenCritic it's at 82 instead of at 81 because they don't weight it. It's just here's all the review scores from the various websites. Here's the average.
Yep, it's an average.
Some people prefer that. Some people prefer it to be weighted to maybe like not put so much emphasis on I'm hey, it's a Nintendo game. Maybe Nintendo Life's review shouldn't count as much as somebody else's, right? Because there's going to be an inherent Nintendo bias. So I'm kind of 50-50 on if I like there to be weighting or not. But the thing is, the score ultimately doesn't matter to me. There are so many games that have scored in the 7s, even the 6s, that I've absolutely loved and adored. And there's games that have been, 95s that I'm like, this is okay. Like I can see why people like this, but it's just not for me. So to me, review scores, the overall score doesn't matter so much. Like I already knew I was going to get Metroid Prime 4 before I got Metroid Prime 4. And after the previews dropped, I remember we were talking about it, and maybe it's just on my live stream with my audience. So I'm like, dude, I already know what these reviews are going to say. They're going to hate these NPCs. They're going to hate on all this shit. And it's going to be given a lower score because they're scrutinizing this more than they scrutinized Metroid Prime 3. And it began with the previews, and it was going to extend to this because they're going to have to replay those same areas they did in the previews they didn't like. They're going to have to deal with the Miles McKenzie section again, so they have to play it twice, whereas most of us are only going through it once, maybe twice if we do hard mode after. And if they didn't like it the first time, they're really going to hate it the second time. And then they're going to find out, hell, there's other characters, and they also talk, and they're going to hate that then. If they hated the first one, they're going to hate the second, the third. Oh, apparently they love the last character. The fourth one you get is more stoic, barely talks. I'm like, oh, so you like a character that has no personality. That's fine. There are, I'd say we probably all know people IRL that feel like their personality is no personality. Try not to be mean, but there are some people out there that it just kind of feels like they exist. And that's about it. I don't know. I can't get a read on them because like there's just nothing. It just feels like there's nothing there. And that's apparently the characters they love are the ones that it's like there's nothing there, like they just don't exist. I'm like, so
present.
Yeah, they're just present. So I'm like, that okay, so you like it because they have no personality. I'm like, I'm confused. And then they sit there. This is the thing that really gets me. And some of these reviews, Metroid's never been known for like having a super deep, elaborate story. It's never been known as like the best story. It's all about the gameplay and the atmosphere. They started to complain about the story. Oh, the story's not very good. I'm like, okay, so you're doing two things here at the same time. One, you're saying you hate having NPC interactions. You don't want any of them. Then you're also saying the story sucks. But in order for the story to be good, you have to have more NPC interactions. So what do you want? Do you want them to go all in, create an epic story? Or do you want them to make an epic Metroid Prime game and just have light story elements like they do with very little and controlled NPC interactions? And then the rest of the time you're by yourself. Literally, when you're doing the dungeons, as people are referencing them, which are just like normal Metroid Prime areas, literally, you can't talk to anyone. What? That's not what you wanted? Oh no, you might get a communication after an hour in Soul Valley. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? Like what? What are we doing? What? Metroid literally had voice acting in it. We had it in Prime 3. We had it in Other M. Other M, sure. Yeah, the dialogue went a little too far. Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, I was never bothered by any of the dialogue there. And now I'm supposed to be bothered here because there's a McKenzie character acting exactly the way I fucking would if I got transported to the middle of fucking nowhere.
Can I ask a question? What's the issue with the I know a lot of like I have some issues with Other M. But my memory of the dialogue in that story is very limited because I've only played through it once and it was when the game was new. So what's wrong with the dialogue in that game? Just so I know what people are referring to.
I love Other M. Okay, I want to be very clear. I actually really enjoy the game where most people don't. But the thing I agree with everyone on is the dialogue.
Is it just written poorly? Like, is it just like people don't speak that way? What's the issue?
It's hard
I
to
don't
know.
remember.
The voice acting is so bad.
Okay, bad voice
I
acting.
don't know, like the voice acting is really bad, and then I don't know if that means the script is bad or the combination of both. It's not good. But I love the gameplay in the game, but all the story stuff is like, kind of like, dude, what the fuck? Is she still in a coma?
They kind of just made Samus scared of everything. It was kind of, she's just like,
Oh, she was scared.
Ridley, this is traumatic. I can't believe this is Ridley. Like, what is happening?
It's like, yeah,
I can't handle
like
this.
6 fucking times.
Yeah,
I'm really worried about Ridley this time.
Okay,
they kind of messed up her character in that game.
I barely.
Yeah,
I was curious if it was the fact that they just gave her dialogue and story, because if it's the fact that they just gave her dialogue and story, that's goofy.
no. It's not and her voice is like monotone the whole game. Like, no,
I do remember that. I do remember
like,
there
what did
wasn't
we
much
do? Like,
emotion.
that feels like something that would be an AI voice, but it wasn't. It was a real voice actor, and they wanted either that person, that's how they voice act, or that's how they were told to voice act. And I just can't imagine. Again, what did I talk about? This dry, no personality bullshit. That's what it kind of felt like, except she had a personality, one that didn't match her character, but then she's monotone about it the whole time. So is she actually scared? Because I have no fucking idea, because she ain't acting scared. She's just oh, I have to fight Ridley again. Oh my God.
Well, how about this? I hope if we get a Metroid Prime 5, I hope they make her a complete drunk with severe PTSD. How's that?
Like, grow her up a bit. But no, so I've read a lot of the reviews, and yes, it's very interesting, because the high, like, you got to get a good mix. You got to get the middle, you got to get the low, you got to get the high to try to see how everyone's feeling. On the really high, like, there's some 10 out of 10 reviews on this. Some 10 out of 10, some 9, some 9.5. There's some really high reviews. Nintendo's been sharing them on socials, of course, to help promote the game. When you go read them,
Giant Bomb said that he's like, I don't know if it's better than the original, but the guy from Giant Bomb said it blows 2 and 3 out of the water.
Yeah, so it blows 2 and 3 out of the water, and like, he's got to sit on it a bit, but he could see that it might actually be better than the first game. But like a lot of people do, sometimes you got to sit on it for a while and really chew it, play a bit more of it.
Yeah.
Maybe go back to Prime 1, play that a bit, and kind of really make up your mind on which one's better. But the fact that it's even a conversation in his head is such like a great sign. Guys, the original Metroid Prime's like a 97. Okay, just to put that in perspective. So like having reviewers come out, someone come out and be like, dude, this thing blows 2 and 3 out of the water and is almost on par, if not better than 1, is insane, considering that, all the complaints about the NPCs. But what I've noticed in every single positive review is they're all people kind of like me, where the NPCs never bothered them to begin with. And they remember, they even bring up Metroid Prime 3 and how they had NPC interactions, and how the ones here are way better voice acted, way better written, and obviously a lot better animated. Like, they use motion capture. It's very clear. And it's like, okay, so yeah, they made it better than Prime 3. Now, if you never liked it in Prime 3, obviously I don't think you're going to suddenly like it in Prime 4. But it's interesting seeing the wide breadth of opinions. I think what really sucks about it being an 81, and it sucks, this is the way the internet works, is because 81 is not, by the internet standards, not considered great. It keeps driving home this narrative that a lot of negative Nancy's out there, to be polite, have been parroting over the last like 6 months, and that is, yeah, not only is everything more expensive from Nintendo, the games are worse. And the only real feather in our cap that we had to say, oh, that's not true, universally, was DK Bonanza. But then technically that game didn't score as well as the original DK64. Mario Kart World, a lot of people feel like it's a big step down from 8 Deluxe. And so now you see these reviews being 9 points lower than Metroid Prime has ever been. And as much as to a lot of us, these scores don't really matter, they do to the general populace. And so it's used to drive that narrative. And that's the part that I think really sucks, is because I have a feeling next week, and I don't know because I haven't played yet, but I have a feeling next week I'm going to be glowing about this game.
I think that I know the score numbers don't bother you, but I have a feeling, I have an inkling that a lot of people aren't mature enough to handle scores and evaluate scores properly anymore.
Well, here's the thing, though. I want to add to that is that
Mental illness.
they don't read the review.
Yeah,
They look at a number and they determine emotionally how they feel about that number, because you can only come to an emotional conclusion based on that number if you don't read the review. And that's the problem as a whole with Metacritic, which is what I want to get into. So, Prime, you want to continue?
Oh, go for it. I can rant and rave all day on this.
All right.
You and I were in DMs.
So I got a few points. I haven't bullet pointed out, so bear with me. Didn't have a lot of time. Metacritic, right? 77 people reviewed the game. Okay. 77 people that work for different companies. They have different review policies, and each outlet is weighted differently in the Metacritic score. And believe it or not, people make their purchasing decisions based on people's opinions that they know nothing about. And they know nothing about the review scales, because every single website has a different review scale. It's not universal. However, Metacritic takes it universally, but then at the same time gives some websites more weight to that score. But we don't know which websites those are. They could be ones that we think are total trash, and I'm willing to bet that some of them are. Now, to add to that, IGN, VGC, Eurogamer, you can rattle them all off. These aren't people. These are companies. Those companies hire writers and critics who come with their own beliefs, their own tastes, their own priorities, their own values. But we rarely, this definitely should hit home for everyone who reads the reviews on websites. We rarely, if ever, know who these people are or know anything about them. As a content creator, you get to know us because we're in front of the camera all the time. They are not. In fact, they do one part of their job and they hand it off to somebody else. Someone plays the game, someone writes the review, someone edits the footage, someone puts it together. Somebody else actually does the video review most of the time. They are compartmentalized. They're like NASA, a lot of these big websites. Whereas as a content creator, you do everything. So you wear the hat of what at a big company, 5 different people wear those hats. And that's not even getting into the social media stuff that you got to do too. Next point on that is you don't know how they game. So what do they value in a title? Or like what genres do they favor? And I word it as like it's kind of like getting life advice from an NPC. You don't know anything about them, but you're still making decisions based on their arbitrary number, right? Then we get into like the actual reviewing. And this is becoming a thing, and we actually know this just from last week, but this was something I've already been noticing, is the vibes-based reviewing. Okay? That is becoming an issue. Like, I think if we're going to take these scores seriously, we would need to know how they're actually calculated. So what categories matter most? Is it gameplay, music, performance, controls, story? What are they using as the metric? And then how much do they take away from a score if something annoys them?
Yep.
Them specifically. It annoys you. It's not going to annoy me. How much did you dock from the score? I'd like to know. And then what sort of toleration level do you have? Are you the type of person who leaves the house and if one thing goes wrong, your day's ruined? There's a lot of people like that out there. If you're that person, I don't want to ever read one of your reviews. Ever. Okay? That's my point, though, is that a lot of the nitpicking I see, and this goes for every game, for every console, not Metroid, everything. I see these bullshit nitpicking. That it's like, what? Would you ever complain about this in real life? Like, if something on this scale bothered you when you're out and about, or like at the grocery store or at your job? Would you make little complaints like this? If you did, like, I'd be surprised if you still had a job. But like, what sort of toleration level does each person have? Because I don't know you from Adam or Eve, right? Because you don't show your face. I don't know these people.
Not to interrupt, has anyone here seen the movie The Menu?
Yes.
I picture I picture Stash instead of as like the head chef inviting all the critics to the island to eat it's he made a game and is inviting game reviewers over to his island to try his game. But the game is that they're all gonna die.
That's great.
I haven't seen it,
Spoilers,
but
sorry.
I'll have to check.
Oh, it's a good movie. Yeah.
All right. So next point, and again, this goes kind of in hand with what I just said, but is this person a chronic complainer? Meaning, do they complain about most things in life that aren't considered fair to them? Okay. And should you value a review like that? Like, that's a question you got to answer for yourself. Obviously, I know where I stand there. Now, VGC, for example, they gave it a 3 out of 5. So it's a 60%, a 6 out of 10. But, I went through the review policy because I'm like, how do you get to this? Where can I find VGC's review policy? Because nowhere in the review does it state how you got to 3 out of 5 stars. Again, it's a vibes thing, right? It's like, what? Since when? Why should I value your vibes? Like, and this is where I wish people did some more digging, okay? Because I do notice, like, some of these outlets when they give, in my opinion, scores that are like way out of left field, okay? Like a Mario and Luigi Brothers ship 5 out of 10. It's like, that's weird. Are you trying to make a point? Trying to be different? Are you trying to stand out? Are you trying to get everyone to read your review because everyone wants to see why you think it's so bad? Like, if you were anybody else, nobody would read that. But because you're this big company, people read it. But we don't know who the hell you are. We don't know what games you play. How many years have you been playing games? Like, these are things I actually care about. How old are you? Not as an ageism thing, but like, how long have you been playing video games for? Because that'll help me to determine your toleration level. Did you grow up in the NES era? Did you play on the Super? Did you play on the 64? You're like, these things you're complaining about are like calluses that we get from playing those throughout the years. So for us, like, this is no big deal when you're a certain age. Like, games have advanced so much. The things you're complaining about are like something I would never complain about. But like, I started looking at some review scores. I was just scrolling through. And look, this isn't to like target a website. This is all I had time for. And I was scrolling through just to see, like, hey, what are some other scores they gave games? Like, I want to see if their collection of writers, and again, a lot of these places have a lot of turnover. So it's a revolving door at a lot of them.
Yeah, I think VGC is a little different because they're independent.
Yeah.
They're ran by Andy Robinson. But yeah.
I know. Yeah. So I'm looking at the review scores, and Chronos. It's a game that just came out. A lot of people love it. I'm playing it. I'm loving it. 6 out of 10. Well under. Silk Song.
What?
Silk Song, 6 out of 10. Okay.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Let me keep going. I got a list here.
What?
Obviously, Prime 4, 6 out of 10.
Is this all by the same author, or is it just like different ones?
This is VGC, because remember,
The outlet, yeah.
this is a company, not a person.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
That's the
Okay.
key point here. Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, 6 out of 10. Lego Horizon Adventures on Switch, 8 out of 10. So Lego Horizon Adventures is better than Chronos, Metroid Prime 4, DK Country, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, 6 out of 10. Funko Fusion, that game that looked like complete trash, also a 6 out of 10. So it's on the same level as Metroid Prime 4, Zelda, DK. Emio the Smiling Man.
That is so dumb. What you just said is so
I
dumb.
know. So Emio the Smiling Man,
Funko game? Get out, dude.
6 out of 10.
I got a question.
Concord.
Did they
Concord,
do
6 out of 10.
Did you see any reviews on their side where did they do half stars at all?
Nope. So
Because it's a
Concord,
huge leap
6 out of
from
10.
3 to 4. Because 3 is a 6 out of 10, whereas 4 is be 8 out of 10. So there's no nuance in between there. Yeah.
I know. Final Fantasy 16, 6 out of 10. Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble that we just bought, 6 out of 10. Princess Peach Showtime, 8 out of 10. Princess Peach Showtime, yeah. 8 out of 10.
That should be the 6. What are we doing?
Dragon's Dogma 2. Good game.
That's a good game, yeah.
Perfect score, 10 out of 10. Good game.
Yeah, I don't know if I call it perfect, but
No.
well, to be fair, outlets don't really mean perfect, but they just mean you really should play this. Yeah, probably. I'd say probably more in the 4 range.
All right, let me give you some more.
Than a 5, but
Mario vs. Donkey Kong, 6 out of 10. Detective Pikachu, 6 out of 10. Starfield, a perfect 10 out of 10.
Get out, dude.
Mortal Kombat
Get
1.
out.
Mortal
No
Kombat
way.
1. A game that most people didn't love. A perfect 10 out of 10.
Listen, as a hardcore Mortal Kombat fan who's bought them all, and I did enjoy Mortal Kombat 1, it is nowhere near a 10 out of 10.
I know.
They like very.
It was not a flawless victory.
They like very
Okay.
specific developers. It's very obvious.
Yeah, Redfall. We all remember
Yeah.
that disaster.
Yep.
Redfall is an 8 out of 10. It is
Get
it is
out,
better
dude.
than Metroid and Zelda.
What the
Uh,
fuck?
Bayonetta Origins.
I'm curious what they gave Concord.
That was a
at
good
this
game.
point.
6 out of 10. Fire Emblem
Stop it.
Engage. 6 out of 10. Final Fantasy VII Reunion. 6 out of 10. Splatoon 3. 6 out of 10. But wait, Lego Star Wars. 10 out of 10. WarioWare. 6 out of 10. Mario Golf. 6 out of 10. Age of Calamity. 6 out of 10. The Origami King. 6 out of 10. But Shenmue 3. The worst Shenmue. 8 out of 10. The game that so many people hate. 8 out of 10. Civ 7, 10 out of 10. Monster Hunter Wilds, 10 out of 10. The least liked Monster Hunter in some time. And Civ 7 massively underperformed. But these games are perfect scores. Okay, so again, I just looked at these scores while
By
we
the way,
were talking earlier.
I glanced. Concord, 6 out of 10.
I said
As good as
Concord.
Metroid.
Yeah.
As good as Metroid. What the fuck?
Yeah. But Redfall, which was just a massive disaster, could have been on the scale of Concord. Like they should have pulled the plug immediately. That's an 8 out of 10. It's an 8 out of
Stash,
10.
did you make a list out of this? Did you make a list? Will you send that list to me? Sorry, I need to review that again and vent.
Yeah.
I'm in disbelief.
The point I'm trying to make here, right, is that first off, there's no way I could agree with those numbers. That was a lot of reviews I just rattled off. Why should I trust that outlet? I can't pin it on a person because there is no one person that reviews games there. So how can I even get a feel for how you're going to review games? And then take it a step further. You guys don't have a review scale. You don't tell me what you're reviewing the game on. Like you don't tell me
No
a
consistent
gameplay
base.
section or a story section or controls or music. You don't say anything about that. It's all vibes, bro. Like what what are we talking about here, and how are you getting to the score? And so again,
Yeah.
that's why I dug into like their actual review methodology, and it was a complete word salad. It was like, literally, I'm sorry, it was like the dumbest shit ever. I felt dumber after reading it. It's like Billy Madison after, that answer he was given, and he's like, I feel dumber after hearing this. I felt like that. I'm like, what is this?
Okay, I gotta read this policy now.
Yeah, that's why I think I talked about it on a previous show. I used to love the way back in the day IGN used to review games. They'd have every game had a section, had a number for, they'd have presentation would get a number out of 10, music would get a number out of 10, story would get a number out of 10, graphics would get a number out of 10, gameplay would get a story or a number out of 10. And then, sometimes games would land as a 7 out of 10 ultimately, but if the most important part of a game to you is story, and a game landed on a 7 but the story was a 9.8 or a 10 or a 9.5 for that matter, it's like, hey, this game got a 7, but the thing that I care about most in games is a masterpiece, so I want to give this one a chance.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like this, the things I'm mentioning are the things that, like, my reviews, I review every game with the same categories because these are the things that matter. These are the things that I personally care about. And I hope you do too. If you don't, then you don't have to watch my review kind of thing. But this is what I care about. This is what matters to me, which is why I do it this way. And so when I read a review and you don't talk about any of this stuff, you're literally just talking vibes. I'm like, what is this? Like, come on. You gotta do better than that, in my opinion, especially when, like, look, man, everyone's been doing this longer than me, in my opinion. I just started doing this. Like, I've read reviews my whole life, right? But I just started doing this. I shouldn't feel this way. I should be looking up to a lot of these people being like, yeah, dude, like, I gotta learn some shit from you. Meanwhile, I'm just reminded, like, this is exactly why I review games. I'm reminded of why I was getting so annoyed with reviews, because nothing can be trusted. It's just a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
And so to put a bow on it.
Yeah. To check out, I was just checking out their system. Just wanted to make a note. Obviously, it definitely literally mentions in here that it's based on vibes. They even use the word, which is insane. To see that that's like part of your review policy is vibes.
That's not professional.
No, but I will say their scale, like when we hear like a 6 out of 10 or a 3 out of 5, we have what we think is, oh, that's not that great. But this is what happens when you limit yourself to just a 5-point scale with no halves, no in-betweens, no nothing else. This is why 5 to me is not enough. They're saying a 3 means the game is good. And you know what? Great. But do they not know that people see that on their website and think the opposite?
Exactly.
You got to consider the audience. The audience is not going to consider a 3 out of 5 to be good.
And then on Metacritic, it's a 6 out of 10, which
is
literally 1 point away from mediocre.
Good. Yeah, that's not considered good.
No.
And I get, but this also goes to the Metacritic. Like, VGCs, if I asked like Andy Robinson, we had him on the show, and I said, hey man, about your review scale, like, why'd you do it this way? And he'll probably come up with a lot of good reasons on like why they do their point system the way they do. And it probably makes total sense, even though I don't like the vibe aspect.
Yeah.
I'm cool with like 1's an avoid, 2's below par, 3 is good, 4 is brilliant, 5 is outstanding. I'm fine with that as like a base scale. The problem is nobody else is using it. And this is the problem with Metacritic, is it's an aggregate of all these different scales that don't mean the same thing.
Like this is why I keep talking about like the problem with Metacritic. There's a lot of problems, right? And look, one thing I was thinking about too with these video games, right? Like, this is a game that's been in development for so long. There's other games like that too that have been in development forever. And all this work that's put into it, all these years, and then it gets reduced to a number. And then Metacritic takes it in, and it has a different interpretation, right, of each website, because they have different review scales. and then some are weighted more. So like maybe VGCs are worth even more. We don't know. We'll never know because they don't tell us. It's proprietary. Like that's their own data. It's their own data. How they get to that calculation, they don't share it with the public. And so for me, like if that Metacritic score is weighted to give them more pull after all those review scores I just read off, it's insane to put any stock in this number. But the fact is that like it's all this work's reduced to a number. And I thought about it like in the workplace. Nobody wants to be a number. But when you're at a big company, that's what you are. You are a number. And as an employee, everyone hates it, right? But then people turn around and do the same shit to video games. The same exact thing. They reduce it to a number. They look at the score. They don't read any reviews because attention spans today are complete shit. They're awful. And they're only getting worse. The younger kids, they don't read stuff. They don't read reviews. Like I would make my reviews longer, but I can't because they will not watch. Nobody will click it. Nobody will click it because it's just 1 minute too long for them. You know what I'm saying? Like to me, it's very sad that people are so lazy that they just want to see what the Metacritic number is. And if it's not a certain number for them, they're out. Like that's the future of the games industry. That's the future of how people are buying games. And I think it's a shame. And I think if you look at something like the movie industry, how many movies have we watched, all of us collectively throughout the years, they got like bad reviews and they're freaking awesome movies? And how many movies got great reviews and they're trash and they're super boring and we don't like them? You know what I mean? Like, think about it in that respect too. But all I'm saying is, man, people shouldn't take advice from people they don't know. Like, you shouldn't take relationship advice from a complete stranger on the street. So why take gaming advice on like how to spend your money from someone you've never met, you don't know what they value, you don't know anything about them, and you'll never get to know them. And there's no accountability because they work for these huge companies. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I literally had visceral memories of being in the theater, credits begin to roll. I have tears in my eyes thinking that was a masterpiece, and then hearing behind me, what the hell did I just watch?
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you're talking about, and vice versa.
Yeah, the review situation is really interesting. I know, obviously, you focus on VGC there, but you can kind of go down this on like every outlet. For me, I've always been somebody that reviews to me have a sort of one purpose, and it's if I'm on the fence. If I'm just not quite sure, I have limited. Forget about limited gaming budget. I have limited time to game. So if I'm on the fence, I want to make sure that if I spend the money, it's going to be something I'm going to play and something I'm going to love and enjoy. And for the most part, I can usually tell that for myself. There's some surefire things like regardless if I don't think like Metroid Prime 4 is the greatest game ever, I know I'm going to enjoy it enough that I'm not worried about the purchase. But there are some games that I'm sometimes on the fence, and that's when I'll turn to reviews. There was a certain game, I can't recall the name of it right now, that I watched your review on actually to find out a certain specific thing I just wanted to know about it. I know I could have Googled it up and figured it out, but I'm like, you know what? He's my friend. He did a review on this game. Let me check it out and answered the question. And I ended up not buying the game. And that's okay that I ended up not buying the game. Because I got the answer. And I'm good then. I would have ended up not really enjoying it that much and ended up putting the game down after an hour, and that sucks. I don't want to do that. As much as it is nice to support games, I don't want to just throw money away. I want to make sure I'm getting something out of it in return for my money. And if I'm not, then it's whatever. It's very rare that I'll kind of throw money away like that. I did that with Cyberpunk. I knew it wasn't my kind of game. I threw money away at it to support physical on Switch too. But again, I don't do that very often. And I haven't really done that since. Every game I've bought since then has been a game I play or plan to play. That's what I use reviews for. But for me, it's all about the content rather than the score. It's all about the content of the review. And I think, the general public, we know the general public doesn't read reviews. They look at the star ratings and then make their decisions off that, right? They go on Amazon, they see a product rating. Oh, it's a 4.5. Let me buy it. You can check the reviews.
You and I talked about this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like we want to see what are the 1-star people saying.
That's what I always do. I always look, and the same thing's true with this. The same thing's true with this. I looked at the worst reviews, and then I read the top reviews, and then I read a couple in the middle because I feel like it gives you a good mix of various opinions to give me a good picture on the game. Now, in the case of Metroid Prime 4, I never needed these reviews to convince me whether to buy or not. It was just morbid curiosity about why the score seems so divisive. And we do have lots of games where the scores are divisive, but it feels more divisive for this given the pedigree of what the scores usually are for a Metroid Prime. So I'm like, well, okay, so how am I reading these high reviews where they're saying it might be even better than Prime 1, but then these low reviews have like 75% of the review is positive, and they got like this little negative remark on a few things that seem nitpicky.
Minor.
Like they don't
like
that big of a deal. Now, maybe they're now, to be clear, they could be super annoying to this person, and that is fine. Like if it's like a deal breaker sort of thing that makes you knock the score down, I'm not against that existing. I just know your review is not for me. That's not the stuff I'm looking for. So I used to,
right,
and it's been a while, track individual reviewers because sometimes they move between
too, back in the day,
and like because I would figure out the reviewers that would actually what they say matched more often my tastes than others. And so I would follow them around, whether they worked at Bloomberg or IGN, or they would bounce all over the place because that's the way the industry works for the most part, especially at these corporate owned entities like Ziff Davis that owns like half the video game media industry.
Yeah.
And I stopped doing that probably about 10 years ago. Not because I still don't think those people write excellent reviews for my taste. Of course they do. I just started realizing that, I was watching the reviews and reading the reviews, and all the reviews were generally pretty positive. And they were pretty positive because they're just playing the games they like, which are the games I like, which means I don't need the review to tell me I'm going to like the game. Which is fine.
Yeah.
But the reviews weren't giving me a reason to keep following, to keep reading when I already know, if I just even glance at your score and see you gave it a 9, I'm probably going to like the game because I know how you review things now. And that's where the score can come in handy a bit, is because I know how you review games. I have a history of reading your reviews. I don't necessarily need to read them as much now as I once did. But I still do try to get a nice mix. I know the industry's changed a lot. YouTubers are now involved in stuff. So I try to make sure I get a variety of stuff that aren't just mainstream. Even when we talk about kind of funny games, they came from mainstream, so like trying to find outlets out there that didn't come from that. Even as VGC, Andy Robinson, I have a lot of respect for that website, a lot of respect for the reporting, a lot of respect for Andy Robinson himself. I've had literal personal conversations with him. He seems like a really good guy. I don't agree with everything they choose to do and how they run their website and everything they choose to report on and review. I don't agree with it, but I don't have to. They clearly have found an audience and they're happy with that audience. That's fine. It's like the audience on my channel is going to be different than an audience that watches a review channel like Thunderstash. It's going to be different than someone doing skits and reviews over there like Gamebird Classic. It's going to be different than even Nintendo Land, who has done a ton of Mario stuff. Like you're going to have a huge Mario following because of all that Mario content. Whereas, I cover it when it's hot, like when the new 3D Mario is announced. Sure, I'll cover that whole hype cycle, but where's the last Mario video on my channel? It's been a while.
It's going to be interesting to see once the fan reviews for Prime 4 start to hit, or not fan reviews, user reviews, especially if this is a lot of people's first Prime game where they rank it with no past bias for the series. And we're talking about like what scores mean to us, and I mean, just to put into perspective, I sat here and just hyped a bunch of games that I picked up, and granted I got them on sale, but these are all things that I would be super hyped about in general. They're just ones that slipped through the cracks for me. But I just pulled up the Metacritic for all of these. Digimon Storytime Stranger, that's sitting at a 78 on Metacritic.
Yeah, it's a great game. I reviewed it on my channel. I loved it.
Guess what? The user score is at a 9.2. And sometimes we have the opposite effect. Sometimes we get
Sometimes,
a
yeah.
9.6 critic, and then the users. I mean, we see this on Rotten Tomatoes too. You'll see it a lot. You know, someone has a rotten like a 40%.
Rotten Tomatoes, the audience score is almost always ahead of the tomato meter.
But look at this one. Metacritic for Super Monkey Ball, 77. The game I was just talking about how much I love this series and how excited I am about it. That's 2 in the 70s. Now, none of these games, the pattern is none of these made it into the 90s at all. The highest rated one in that handful I showed off is the Ace Attorney collection, which is at an 85. Next is the Zero Escape, which is at an 83. My point is, you know, Digimon is probably going to be a lot higher for me than a 78. I love RPGs. I love Digimon. I grew up with it. I used to watch the cartoon growing up.
You're gonna love
This
it.
This is absolutely the type. I mean, you guys remember at PAX, we were discussing what are we going to play, what are we not going to play. At PAX, I'm like, well, I got to play the Digimon game. I really want to play the Digimon one, guys. Luckily, we our Bandai meeting got us set up with everything that they had at the booth. But like I had been saying prior, I really want to play Digimon. I just care about Digimon. But so
Yeah, then everything
Yeah.
ended up being awesome. But
Yeah.
I mean, no surprise. I really enjoy the games they made at Namco Mix, so it's no surprise.
Yeah. No, they're awesome. But yeah, it's just to reiterate the point that like it's like Stash said, like these are companies. Just because I mean, someone might be reviewing Digimon who likes RPGs but has no nostalgia or love for Digimon.
And
How does that affect?
I've never played Digimon. I
Yeah.
never played it or watched it. And that's how I frame my reviews of like, hey, I'm brand new to this. So let's see if I like this. Like I like Pokemon. I like Dragon Quest Monsters. I love RPGs. Let's see if I like this. And sure
Yeah.
enough, like I freaking loved it. I'm like, oh, like I love it. Then I'm confident that like you're gonna love it because you have a reason to love it already. You like it.
Right.
Like I knew nothing about it.
Yeah. Just like I would be the wrong person to review. We've talked about this on the show, Call of Duty. I don't like military shooters. I have zero interest in military shooters.
Yeah.
And I don't care about competitive online. It's just not something that I care about. I like local multiplayer. I like battling or racing or duking it out locally. I just don't care about the online stuff unless it's with a friend. And military shooter, zero interest. So my review of whatever the perception of the best Call of Duty game of all time is, my review of it would probably be lower than most people because it's just a subject that I'm not interested in.
Yeah, and I've said this before. I think there's value in reviews by people who don't enjoy the genre. Because
Sure.
you know, people like to explore and think about, is this the game for me to maybe try that genre out? And they want to hear that perspective of somebody else who hasn't. But I think in cases like that, people doing those reviews, they shouldn't be put on Metacritic. They should be a separate thing because it's for a very specified audience. It's not really for the general audience that might be interested in the reviews of this game. And it's not. It's all just put together. And it's true. It's the same with OpenCritic. They just don't weight the reviews. And look, look, I actually don't have any problem with the way Metacritic does things or the way that OpenCritic does things. I've never really have because let's just be honest, they're aggregate websites. They're not writing the reviews, right? They're aggregate websites.
But why are some outlets weighted? That's my hiccup.
I think
And who is weighted?
I'll tell you why. There's a reason a lot of people don't like mainstream media. And part of the reason is they think they're too buddy with the companies in the industry. They rub shoulders with them too much. They take the handouts and the payouts and the free
so how
flight.
can I value them?
Yeah, so that's been one of the huge criticisms of some of the major outlets is, hey, Nintendo's flying you out to the Nintendo Museum, which, by the way, we know they did for Rogers Base, right? But is Rogers Base a big game reviewer? No. He has an occasional review here and there, but he's not a big game reviewer. So what's the big deal? I don't feel a conflict is there. But for an actual game reviewer, You get flown out, you get wined and dined, you get all the swag, you get, on top of that, maybe some money to run some ads. Yeah, okay. There's going to be some bias there. And so I what happened is the industry and some of these studios, they're basing literal bonuses of their employees on Metacritic scores.
I know.
Which is ridiculous. When the fuck did we exist in a world where your bonus is not determined by how successful the game is, how much money it makes, how many sales it gets, or on an arbitrary score on an aggregate website?
I'll tell you, because these people that are going to get paid bonuses, a lot of them they're going to say bye-bye to once the game's done. They're contract employees. So we're not going to pay you a year from now after we see how many it's sold in a year. We're going to pay you based on that Metacritic, and then we're probably going to lay you off. And we'll probably never see you again.
Yeah, the Western game dev industry.
Yeah, the Western, no doubt.
Yeah,
No doubt.
so
And I'm sure that Metacritic only applies to Western developers too. It's probably not a practice in Japan.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, Japan might have some bonuses tied to it as well. That I don't know. I know the only thing I know is that Nintendo doesn't, because I've talked to enough people that know people there that like they don't run bonuses off anything Metacritic related. All their game dev bonuses are standardized. They're not even based on game sales. You just get 2 bonuses a year. It just is what you get it regardless of what your game does. Which is why, I mean, if you think about it, that's one of the reasons Nintendo has such low employee turnover rate. It's just everyone just gets paid well. It doesn't matter how well your particular game sold, because Nintendo as a company is doing well. So everyone gets paid well.
Everyone gets paid well. No one gets paid astronomically. And that's why everyone gets paid well.
Yeah. And people get really upset at Nintendo about how greedy they are. And I'm like, well, okay. Do you want companies to treat their employees well? Or do you want them to send all the money to the top? Because Nintendo doesn't do that and they treat their employees well. So all this money they have coming in, it's going back to the people making the games, man.
Yeah. And the other part is going into research and development. So they can actually create new cool things, since they're the only ones who create new cool things.
And build in a little bank account to protect themselves and their employees from when things aren't going well, like during the Wii U and 3DS era. Like they had protections in place. They didn't have to lay people off.
Yes, this is how a successful company operates.
Like they don't owe anyone anything. That helps as well. When things go bad, well, they're not in debt to anyone but themselves. Money they previously spent. So yeah, it's a nice place to be in when your debt is just yourself. So yeah, it's interesting. Again, though, is Metroid Prime an 81? Is it more? I have no idea. I haven't played the game. I can't even bother to tell you if this is where I feel like it should be rated, if the ratings matter at all. But what I can tell you is I'm stupidly excited for this game. It is live, by the way, for digital owners in the US in 8 minutes. If you're watching this live, jealous of you guys jumping in right now. I'm not jumping in until sometime tomorrow, but
I just remembered I have to go. There's really important.
Something really important just came up right at 11. Right at 11, we can hear the game booting up on your TV.
Or is that what you're hitting? Was that what you're hitting it, or were you actually going to hit it?
I'm a physical copy person, so no, I'm going to wait. Okay. Unfortunately, I wish that was why, but no.
Okay.
No, it's all right, man. Yeah, Nintendo Land's got a bounce here. Do you have any final thoughts you want to get in before you head out, man? Because you say you got like 5 minutes left.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this game. I'm not listening to anybody. From everything that I see, I get a really good general idea of what a game's going to be like from just the previews Nintendo puts out and stuff. And I know I'm going to like this game for sure. Will I have some problems with it? Undoubtedly, there'll be something that's, like Gamebird said. Yeah, like Gamebird said, the desert is probably my only concern. Just it being a little too just open and not too much going on. But, those different reviews even said some people love the desert, that they had some Breath of the Wild like shrines in them. So I'm like, I would love that, so
then it's not too big and it feels like a Hyrule Field. And I'm like,
yeah. And I love Hyrule Field. So I'm like,
and you know what? Hyrule Field's kind of empty and I never really complained about it.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, like you said earlier, it was just vibes, man. I love Hyrule Field. But I'm excited for the game. But yeah, I don't think a chatty character is going to make me not like a game. So
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for Nintendo Land being here. Landon, you guys can go check out his channel. He basically covers some of the same stuff I do, some news here and there, lots of Mario, lots of other stuff, probably some Metroid Prime coverage, I'm assuming, coming.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. Should go check him out, guys. We'll drop a link in the chat, at least on my end. Thank you so much, Landon, for being here, man. Appreciate it.
For
Sorry
hearing about me today.
I had to with you and Dave today. I had to apologize to Dave too.
It's all right. It worked out. It worked out perfect.
Everything's fine.
But thanks for having me, man. Oh, I will. You too, guys.
We will.
Right.
Later.
See ya.
Cheers, man.